things that was important to us in the overall biennial in 2008 was to represent a kind of way artists are working, which has an element of process or social interaction, kind of things that live in the moments, whether those are publishing projects or culinary gatherings, musical performances, a host of things that we have seen throughout the building here. In the end, we ended up filling almost all of these historical rooms with installations, with works that were ongoing.
When I was first asked to propose something for this space, I was really interested in making a painting on the drill hall wall. It has so much to do with what I'm interested in, is making painting on architecture, using what is there and then making what is there my own, but also responding to the environment, so that there's a kind of interesting conversation or tension between art and the world.
Initially, the piece would be outside. We decided it was going to be inside the drill hall. I thought that was the perfect place for it. I was excited the first time I saw the lights on, and I really liked seeing the piece at night. I was so happy.
The project Animal Drills was actually inspired by this space, which used to have military drills in it. So this idea of taking the scores of movement inspired by animals that we had choreographed for the museum and bringing them here, almost like you would stage military drills. So the performers had whistles that announced each animal move. I think a lot of the dancers, when they first arrived here, were so excited just to perform in a space this big. It almost feels like it has its own atmosphere, and the act of entering in here feels ceremonial and like something special is going to happen. So also for the project, I really wanted it to be as immaterial as possible. I think for a space like this, it's really hard to dominate it, and it's just people moving in this space, and that was enough. And it kind of is very modest and surrenders to the space in some way, and just that feeling of its history and, you know, the kind of activity that used to happen here maybe was echoed in the piece in some way.
Yeah, I chose this room. The room made me think of the chandelier. And bringing it here to the Armory, showing it in this bathroom, you know, it's a very antique bathroom with this sort of like elegance to it at the same time. The bathroom and the chandelier sort of meet and respond to each other. So the light is like filling the bathroom, and the bathroom is sort of enclosing this object, and these other chandeliers throughout the building. There's a dialogue there between this very kind of poor cousin country girl who's come, you know, in the pretty dress, like among all these grand dames, you know. She's showing, you know, it's like she's showing off a little bit. It's kind of about seduction too. And this place is I think, about seduction and power. It reveals itself just having this chandelier here.
Oh, it's really, it's also like, it's comfortable. When the U comes on, I'll match the pitch and make an on.
One-in-a-lifetime experience, I think. It's really,
I mean, how many times are you going to be in this space with that kind of music on it,
like across your face?
Yeah.
You were the art. People were looking at us. It was very cool.
The Armory space was pretty influential in the fact that when I first saw the space, I was pretty overwhelmed with the opulence of the space. And I was also, secondly, overwhelmed with the idea, just this presence of this invisible sort of history, like the space. There are a few key rooms that just have this feeling of like definitely having secrets in them. And you know, the idea that there's that secret room in this space was kind of interesting to me already, you know, sort of suggesting that there's sort of this stuff in the walls, that behind the walls there's something happening. So immediately the white cube form sort of came. It's like this thing that kind of came from somewhere else. It totally doesn't fit the space at all. It seems completely opposite. So yeah, the Armory definitely had an influence in that respect. And that also had influence in the fact that all the furniture inside of the cube came from the Armory building itself. So it's like I'm trying to bring the history of that building into that space. to sort of influence the conversations that go on inside, and then bring the sound of the conversations that are happening in the cube outside in some, almost in a corny way, reflects on like the if the walls could talk kind of thing, which I really wish could happen in some real way. Hell is that noise? That's awesome. See, that's what I'm saying. This building is crazy. It's beautiful.
I came to see this armory building, and then I thought that there is this idea to make an army, create this army with this different mindset, like all have different heads, and an army with different mindsets is not really a working army, so it's not something what can really work. I thought it's funny in this building has this military background to make something like that. And then I was happy with the room. Still like a very lovely energy, even when it's in a military building, but this warm wood, and then this sculptures became something very, looks a bit like out of a Steven Spielberg film from the 80s, like E.T. or... And I liked very much the room. When you told me before the kids would play with it, I didn't thought at all about that, but however I trigger people, however my work can fascinate or like attract people, I don't care. I think interactivity, whatever it is, it's always good.
We can never expect to keep the peace unless we are prepared to turn out in cases of emergency and fight.
In painting, one now beholds a deluge of silliness. In literature, an intemperate mixture of dull style and cowardly ideas. For they have to credit the businessmen with honesty.
They asked me to put in a proposal. Once they said I had the space, then it took a lot of work to make the tent and install it, and put it up. But the room itself and this building has such a strong context that it's like going to really shape what you put in it, no matter what. So I came up with a tent idea to create my own container inside the container, close off the mooses, so that's not your first thing. So you go in, you can lie down in the tent and get the sleeping music, and that takes you up to the moose where you can see the mooses. So when you come in, you don't really know the mooses are there. You lie down, you enjoy the music, and you don't feel the larger context. But then when you get upstairs and you see on the balcony, you're like, holy crap, those mooses were there the whole time. You know, they were looking down on me while I was lying there like on the cot. So it's a little creepy, and I think that's a cool statement. When you're in there, you don't know what country it is. It could be any country. You could be here in New York, or you could be in Africa, or you could be in Asia. It could be 100 years ago, or it could be 100 years from now, you know, and that's kind of one of the things I wanted to like take away the geography of where you might be.